Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Terran ship Horizon. His hands gripped the metal rail as he watched the large screen in front of him. On that screen, hundreds of alien faces stared back at him. They were the Galactic Council, and today they would decide humanity's fate. Ambassador Lisa Carter stood in the center of the room. She wore her best blue uniform, but Jake could see her hands shaking. She had spent 3 years trying to defend humanity. Now it all came down to this moment. "The charges against the human species are clear," said Speaker Vexthara. The tall alien's voice was cold and sharp. His 4 arms moved as he spoke, and his large black eyes showed no feeling. "They have shown too much violence. They refuse to follow our laws. They destroyed the Zephyrian mining station at Kepler 442. Jake felt anger rise in his chest. The Zephyrians had been stealing resources from human colonies for months. When humans asked them to stop, they laughed. When humans complained to the Council, nothing happened. Only when humans fought back did anyone care. Lisa stepped forward. "Honored Council members, humanity acted in self-defense. The Zephyrians took our resources without permission. They ignored all diplomatic requests to stop. We had no choice but to protect our people." A large, slug-like creature from the Andromedan sector made a wet sound that Jake knew was laughter. Humans always have excuses for their violence. This is why they do not belong in civilized space. Other alien voices joined in agreement. Jake watched as species after species spoke against humanity. The Regellians called humans too aggressive. The Centaurians said humans could not be trusted. The Altarians claimed humans were a danger to galactic peace. Dr. Henry Blake, who stood next to Jake, shook his head sadly. "They've already made up their minds," he whispered. "This isn't a trial, it's a show." Jake knew Henry was right. The Council had been looking for a reason to get rid of humanity for years. Humans were new to galactic society, only joining 50 years ago. They were different from most species. They asked too many questions. They moved too fast. They wanted to explore and grow instead of staying quiet and following old rules. The worst part was that humanity had helped many of these species. Human doctors had cured diseases on Regellian worlds. Human engineers had built space stations for the Andromedans. Human soldiers had even fought alongside Council forces against space pirates. But none of that mattered now. "The vote will now begin," announced Vexthara. One by one, each species cast their vote. Red lights meant guilty. Green lights meant innocent. Blue lights meant unsure. Jake watched the board fill with red lights. Red, red. A few blue lights appeared, but not many. No green lights at all. "The vote is final," Vexthara said. By a count of 847 to 23, with 156 abstentions, humanity is found guilty of crimes against galactic peace. The sentence is immediate exile beyond the galactic rim. Lisa's face went white. "You can't do this. We have 12 million people living on 47 different worlds. Where will they go?" "That is not our concern," replied the Altarian speaker. "You have 1 solar cycle to remove all human presence from Council space. Any human ship found here after that time will be destroyed without warning." Jake felt his world crashing down. 1 year to evacuate 12 million people and abandon everything humanity had built among the stars. It was impossible. But the alternative was death. The transmission ended, and the screen went dark. Lisa fell into a chair, her face in her hands. Dr. Blake stared out the window at the stars they would soon have to leave behind. "Admiral Kate Sullivan is waiting for your orders, sir," said Lieutenant Ben Clark from the communication station. Jake took a deep breath. Kate was the head of all human military forces. She would need to organize the biggest evacuation in human history. "Tell her to begin Operation Exodus immediately." All colonies, all stations, everything were leaving. The next few months were chaos. Human ships raced across the galaxy, picking up colonists and supplies. Families that had lived on distant worlds for generations packed their lives into cargo containers. Children who had never seen Earth cried as they left the only homes they had ever known. Admiral Sullivan worked without rest, coordinating thousands of ships. Some colonies were easy to evacuate. Others were in dangerous areas where pirates attacked the rescue ships. The Council did nothing to help, even when human civilians were in danger. Jake's ship, the Horizon, was one of the last to leave. He stood on the bridge and watched as the final transport ships crossed the galactic boundary. Behind them, they left empty space stations, abandoned mines, and 47 worlds that would never again hear human voices. "Long-range sensors are picking up something strange, Captain," reported Lieutenant Clark. "There are structures out there in the void. Old ones." Jake looked at the sensor readings. Far ahead, in the empty space beyond the galaxy, strange shapes appeared on the screen. They were clearly artificial, but they didn't match any known technology. "What do you think they are, Henry?" Jake asked. Dr. Blake studied the data with excitement in his eyes. "I don't know, but they're definitely not made by any current galactic species. They're ancient, maybe millions of years old." As the human fleet moved deeper into exile, Jake wondered if they had found something important. The Council had thrown them out, expecting them to die in the cold emptiness beyond the stars. But maybe, just maybe, humanity would find something out there that would change everything. The last human ship crossed into the void, leaving the galaxy behind. Their exile had begun, but their story was far from over. 2 years had passed since humanity left the galaxy. Captain Jake Morrison stood in his small office aboard the command ship Horizon, looking at reports that made his stomach hurt. Food supplies were running low. 3 civilian ships had broken down this week. People were getting sick, and some were starting to fight among themselves. The human fleet had found a place to rest around a brown dwarf star. It was not a real sun, just a failed star that gave off a little heat, but it was better than floating in empty space. Around this dim star, 12 million humans tried to build new lives in ships that were never meant to be permanent homes. Jake walked through the corridors of his ship and saw the faces of his people. Children looked tired and thin. Adults argued over small things because they were scared and frustrated. The excitement of discovering ancient structures in the void had worn off. Now everyone just wanted to go home, but they had no home to return. T.O. Dr. Henry Blake was different from the others. While everyone else grew sad and worried, Henry became more excited each day. He spent all his time studying the strange structures they had found floating in the darkness beyond the galaxy. "Jake, you need to see this," Henry called out as Jake entered the science lab. "We've made a breakthrough with the artifacts." Jake looked at the metal object on Henry's desk. It was about the size of a book, covered in symbols that seemed to move when he wasn't looking directly at them. They had found dozens of these objects in the ancient structures. "Chief Engineer Danny Ross figured out something amazing," Henry continued. "These artifacts respond to human brain patterns. Not just any species, specifically humans. Watch this." Henry placed his hand on the artifact. Immediately, the symbols began to glow with soft blue light. The object hummed quietly, and holographic images appeared in the air above it. "It doesn't work for anyone else," Danny said, entering the lab. "I had Dr. Grant try it, and Lieutenant Clark, and even Admiral Sullivan. Same result every time. Only humans can activate these things." Jake stared at the floating images. They showed star maps, technical diagrams, and what looked like historical records. "What are they?" "They belong to something called the predecessors," Henry explained. An ancient race that lived millions of years ago. These artifacts are like their libraries and computers all rolled into one. Dr. Nina Grant, the fleet's main archaeologist, joined them in the lab. She had been working with Henry to understand the predecessor technology. The really incredible part is what we learned about galactic history, she said. Nina activated another artifact. The holographic display showed the galaxy as it was millions of years ago. Instead of the current Galactic Council species, the stars were filled with different civilizations. The predecessors built a huge empire, Nini explained. They were peaceful, advanced, and helped younger species learn and grow. But something happened to them. The display changed, showing flashes of war and destruction. Ships exploded. Planets burned. Entire star systems went dark. They were destroyed by the ancestors of the current council species, Henry said quietly. The same aliens who exiled us are sitting on the ruins of the civilization they helped murder. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. Are you sure about this? The records are clear, Nina replied. The predecessors tried to help these species become better, but some of them got jealous and greedy. They wanted predecessor technology for themselves. When the predecessors refused to give them weapons, they formed an alliance and attacked. Danny pointed to another part of the display. But here's the important part. The predecessors didn't just disappear. They left things behind. Hidden bases, automated shipyards, research stations, all scattered around the outer rim of the galaxy. And the artifacts are showing us where to find them, Henry added with excitement. Jake studied the star map floating in front of him. Dozens of locations were marked in the empty space around the galaxy. You're saying there are predecessor facilities out here? In Exiled territory? Not just facilities, Danny said. Shipyards that could build vessels more advanced than anything. In current galactic space. Weapons that could reshape matter at the atomic level. Technology that could enhance human biology and extend our lifespans. Jake felt hope beginning to grow in his chest for the first time in 2 years. What do we need to do? We need to investigate these sites, Nina said. But it's dangerous. Some of the facilities might have defense systems. Others could be damaged or unstable. Admiral Kate Sullivan entered the lab at that moment. She looked tired but alert. Captain Morrison, we've been monitoring your conversation. I think we need to discuss this with the civilian leadership. Jake nodded. Set up a meeting with the colony ship captains. If this technology is real, it could change everything. The meeting took place in the main conference room of the colony ship New Earth. Captain Morrison sat at a long table with the leaders of humanity's exile fleet. There were 12 colony ship captains, each responsible for 1 million people. There were also the heads of engineering, medicine, security, and civilian government. The choice is simple, Admiral Sullivan said after Henry and Nina finished their presentation. We can stay here and slowly run out of supplies, or we can take risks to investigate these predecessor sites. Captain Lisa Carter, who now commanded the colony ship Hope, raised her hand. What if the Council finds out we're accessing advanced technology? They might see us as an even bigger threat. The Council thinks we're dead already, Jake replied. They threw us out here expecting us to disappear. We can't get any more exiled than we already are. Dr. Blake activated one of the artifacts again. According to these records, the predecessors designed their technology to work with human-type neural patterns. It's like they knew we would find it someday, or like they designed it for us specifically, Nina added quietly. That made everyone think. Why would an ancient race that died millions of years before humans left Earth create technology that only humans could use? The vote was done. Close, but it passed. Humanity would begin exploring the predecessor sites. Small teams would investigate the closest facilities while the main fleet stayed. Safe around the brown dwarf star. Jake volunteered to lead the first expedition. His ship, the Horizon, was fast and well armed. With it went Dr. Blake, Dr. Grant, and Chief Engineer Ross. They also brought their best security team, led by Commander Pete Wilson. The first predecessor facility was only 3 days away by faster-than-light travel. As they approached it, Jake felt his heart beating fast. What they found there could save humanity or destroy them. The facility was huge, easily the size of a small moon. It was shaped like a crystal, with smooth surfaces that reflected the light of distant stars. Most importantly, it was clearly still active. Lights moved along its surface, and energy readings showed it was powered and functional. "There's a docking bay opening," reported Lieutenant Clark from the navigation station. Jake took a deep breath. "Take us in. Let's see what the predecessors left for us." 5 years had changed everything for humanity. Captain Jake Morrison looked at himself in the mirror and still felt surprised by what he saw. His reflexes were faster, his mind sharper, and his body stronger than ever before. The predecessor enhancement process had improved every human who chose to undergo it, but they were still completely human in all the ways that mattered. The Exile fleet had grown into something the Galactic Council could never have imagined. Around the brown dwarf star, massive shipyards built vessels that combined human creativity with ancient alien technology. These new ships could travel faster than light without using the hyperspace lanes that the Council controlled. They had shields that could stop antimatter weapons and computers that helped humans think better instead of replacing them. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood on the bridge of the new flagship Retribution, watching the final stages of construction on humanity's most advanced ship yet. The vessel was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. It looked like flowing metal sculpture, but Jake knew it carried enough firepower to destroy an entire fleet of Council ships. "The enhancement process is complete on 70% of our population," reported Dr. Henry Blake. He looked younger now than he had 5 years ago, thanks to the predecessor genetic improvements. "The process is completely voluntary, and everyone who undergoes it remains fully human. We're just ... better versions of ourselves." Chief Engineer Danny Ross had become almost legendary among the fleet. He could interface directly with predecessor machinery, understanding systems that had been built millions of years ago. Under his guidance, human engineers had learned to build ships that seemed impossible by current galactic standards. "The mobile shipyard is ready for deployment," Danny announced. "We can now build new vessels while traveling. We're not tied to any single location anymore." Jake nodded. The mobile shipyard was the size of a small city, capable of constructing entire fleets while moving through space. It was powered by predecessor energy systems that drew power directly from subspace itself. Dr. Nina Grant had made the most important discovery of all. She had found the final predecessor archive on a dead world at the very edge of known space. What she learned there changed everything humanity thought they knew about the galaxy. The current galactic species are making the same mistakes that led to the predecessor downfall, Nina explained to the senior staff. They've become lazy, corrupt, and blind to real dangers. Worse, they're starting to find predecessor ruins and trying to use technology they don't understand. Jake felt a chill. What kind of dangers? Nina activated a holographic display showing the galaxy. Red zones appeared in several areas. Our deep cover agents report that the Zephyrians found a predecessor weapons facility 6 months ago. They're trying to copy the technology, but they're doing it wrong. They're creating space-time distortions that could destroy entire star systems. The room fell silent. Everyone knew what this meant. The same species that had exiled humanity was now threatening to tear apart the galaxy through their ignorance and greed. Admiral Sullivan leaned forward. What are our options? We could stay hidden and continue growing stronger, Jake said. In another 10 years, we'd be powerful enough to defend ourselves against anything the Council could send. But by then, half the galaxy might be destroyed, Nina replied. The Zephyrian experiments are getting worse. They've already caused the collapse of 3 star systems. Dr. Blake brought up another display. There's something else. The predecessor archives contain warnings about threats from outside our galaxy. Dark things in the void between galaxies that the ancient race fought long ago. The current Council species have no idea these dangers exist. Jake studied the data. According to the predecessor records, there were hostile forces in the dark spaces between galaxies. They had attacked once before, millions of years ago. Only the combined might of the predecessor empire had stopped them. Now that empire was gone, and the current galactic civilizations are too weak and divided to face such a threat. So we have a choice, Admiral Sullivan said. Stay hidden and safe while the galaxy burns, or reveal ourselves and try to prevent a catastrophe. Captain Lisa Carter, who now commanded one of the new enhanced ships, spoke up. What does our intelligence network tell us about Council politics? Commander Pete Wilson, who ran humanity's secret intelligence operations, activated a secure communication channel. Our agents report that the Council is paralyzed. The moderate species want to investigate the space-time distortions, but the Zephyrians refuse to admit they're causing them. Meanwhile, the Altarians are using the crisis to gain more political power. They're more concerned with politics than survival, Jake said with disgust. It gets worse, Wilson continued. The Regellians have started their own experiments with predecessor technology. They found ruins in their territory last month. If they make the same mistakes as the Zephyrians, we could see reality tiers opening across multiple sectors. Jake stood up and walked to the window. Outside, he could see the human fleet spread across space. Hundreds of advanced ships, millions of enhanced humans and technology that surpassed anything in current galactic civilization. They had been exiled and left to die, but instead they had become something greater than they ever were before. There's one more thing, Nina said quietly. The final predecessor archive contained a message. It was specifically addressed to humanity. Everyone turned to look at her. Nina activated one final holographic display. The image of a tall, graceful alien appeared. It looked somewhat like humans, but was clearly a different species. If you are watching this, then our calculations were correct, the alien said in perfect English. We are the predecessors, and we have been extinct for millions of your years. But we planned for this moment. We designed our technology to work with your species because we saw your potential in the quantum echoes of time. Jake felt his breath catch. They knew about us? Millions of years ago? The holographic predecessor continued speaking. Your species has something special. You adapt, you grow. You refuse to give up, even when everything seems hopeless. You will face the same enemies we did, but you will succeed where we failed. The technology we left behind is our gift to you, but remember, power without wisdom leads to destruction. The message ended, leaving everyone in stunned silence. Admiral Sullivan was the first to speak. So they didn't just leave this technology behind randomly. They specifically prepared it for humanity. It explains why only humans can activate their systems, Danny said. They literally design everything for us. Jake made his decision. We returned to galactic space. Not as conquerors, but as guardians. We stopped the Zephyrian experiments before they destroy the galaxy. And we prepare for whatever threats the predecessors warned us about. The Council will never accept us back, Lisa warned. Then we don't ask for their permission, Jake replied. We do what needs to be done. Admiral Sullivan nodded. I'll begin preparations for fleet deployment. But Jake, once we reveal ourselves, there's no going back. The galaxy will know that humanity has returned and will be more powerful than Tali. Anything they've ever seen. Jake looked out at the human fleet one more time. 5 years ago, they had been exiles fleeing into the void. Now they were the inheritors of the galaxy's most advanced civilization. The Council had thrown them out, expecting them to disappear forever. Instead, humanity had evolved into something that could protect the galaxy from threats both within and beyond. The exile was ending, but their real mission was just beginning. Set course for the Galactic Rim, Jake ordered. It's time to remind the galaxy what humanity is capable of. The human fleet crossed back into galactic space like ghosts returning from the dead. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Retribution, watching his stealth ships move through Council territory, completely invisible to their sensors. 8 years of exile had transformed humanity into something the galaxy had never seen before. Stealth field is holding steady, reported Lieutenant Ben Clark. Council patrol ships are passing within 1,000 kilometers and showing no detection. Jake nodded. The predecessor stealth technology was beyond anything the current galactic civilizations could imagine. Human ships could move through the most heavily defended systems without being noticed. It was perfect for reconnaissance, but what they were seeing made Jake's enhanced heart race with worry. The galaxy was dying. Commander, Pete Wilson's intelligence reports had been accurate, but seeing the damage in person was much worse. Entire star systems showed signs of space-time distortion. Some stars flickered between existing and not existing. Planets hung in orbits that defied the laws of physics. And in the worst areas, reality itself seemed to be torn open like wounds. In space, Admiral Sullivan, are you seeing this? Jake asked over the communication system. I see it, Jake, came Kate's reply from the command ship. The Zephyrian experiments have created expanding zones of instability. At this rate, the damage will reach the galactic core within 2 years. Dr. Henry Blake worked frantically at his science station. The readings are off the charts. They're not just experimenting with predecessor weapons. They're trying to weaponize space-time itself. But they don't understand what they're doing. Chief Engineer Danny Ross shook his head in disbelief. They're using predecessor gravity manipulation technology like crude bombs. It's like giving nuclear weapons to children. The first rescue operation happened by accident. The stealth ship Phantom was conducting surveillance in the Andromedan sector when they detected a distress signal. An Andromedan colony ship was caught in one of the expanding reality tiers, slowly being pulled apart by forces that shouldn't exist. We can't just watch them die, said Captain Lisa Carter from the Phantom's bridge. Jake made the decision that would change everything. Save them? Phantom dropped its stealth field and moved to help. Using predecessor gravity technology, they stabilized the space-time distortion long enough to evacuate 3,000 Andromedan civilians. The aliens stared in shock as humans who were supposed to be extinct appeared from nowhere with technology. That seemed impossible. News of the rescue spread through galactic communication networks faster than light. Humanity was back, and they were different. Security footage from the Andromedan ship showed humans moving within human speed and precision. Their ship used technology that violated known physics. And most shocking of all, they had saved lives without asking for anything in return. Dr. Nina Grant, now serving as humanity's secret ambassador, made contact with moderate council members who remembered humanity's contributions before the exile. She met with Counselor Ythara of the Centaurian Republic on a neutral space station. Your people were declared dead, the insect-like alien said, her compound eyes reflecting confusion. The council voted. You were exiled beyond the rim. How did you survive? Nina smiled. Humans are hard to kill. We found things in the void that your people threw us into. Ancient things, powerful things, The predecessors, Ithara whispered. You found predecessor technology. We found much more than that, Nina replied. We found the truth about galactic history. About what really happened to the predecessors. About the threats coming from outside our galaxy. And about the terrible mistakes your people are making right now. Ithara's antenna twitched nervously. What do you mean? Nina activated a holographic display showing the expanding zones of space-time damage. The Zephyrians are going to destroy the galaxy. Their experiments with predecessor technology are creating tears in reality itself. In 2 years, the damage will be irreversible. The Centaurian counselor studied the data with growing horror. This is why you've returned? To warn us? To save you, Nina corrected. Humanity has the knowledge and technology to stop this catastrophe. But we need the Council to admit they made a mistake. To accept our help. News of humanity's return reached the Galactic Council chambers on Alteria Prime. Speaker Vexthara stood before an emergency session, his forearms gesturing angrily at the holographic reports. This is impossible, declared General Crickstar of the Zephyrian military. The humans were exiled 8 years ago. They had no advanced technology. They were primitive warmongers who couldn't even follow basic galactic law. The evidence suggests otherwise, replied Counselor Ithara. The ship that rescued the Andromedan colonists used gravity manipulation technology. They stabilized a space-time distortion that our best scientists said was impossible to fix. Admiral Kate Sullivan authorized more open interventions as the human fleet spread through galactic space. When a Rigelian research station was consumed by an artificial black hole, human ships appeared to evacuate the scientists. When reality tears threatened to destroy a Centaurian trade route, enhanced human engineers sealed the wounds in space-time itself. Each rescue operation revealed more of humanity's transformation. Their ships could appear and disappear at will. Their technology could manipulate fundamental forces of nature. And their enhanced crews worked with speed and efficiency that amazed other species. The confrontation everyone expected finally happened in the Kepler sector. General Crickstar led a Zephyrian fleet to intercept what they thought was a small human patrol. Instead, they found Captain Morrison commanding a single ship that shouldn't have been able to defeat them. Unknown human vessel, you are in violation of your exile decree, Crickstar transmitted. Surrender immediately or be destroyed. Jake's response was calm and confident. General, you are in violation of galactic safety protocols. Your experiments with predecessor technology are endangering millions of lives. Stand down and allow us to contain the damage. Humans do not give orders. To the Zephyrian Empire, Crickstar snarled. All ships open fire. 20 Zephyrian warships attacked the Retribution with everything they had. Antimatter torpedoes, plasma cannons, and gravity bombs all struck Jake's ship simultaneously. When the energy blasts cleared, the human vessel floated undamaged in space. Our turn, Jake said quietly. The Retribution moved like liquid lightning. Its weapons fired once, and half the Zephyrian fleet simply ceased to exist. Not destroyed, not blown apart, but completely removed from reality as if they had never been there. The remaining ships found their weapon systems disabled by technology they couldn't understand. This is impossible, Crickstar whispered. This is evolution, Jake replied. Humanity was exiled into the void where we found the inheritance the predecessors left for us. We are no longer the species you cast out. We are something greater. The news of the battle reached every world in the galaxy within hours. Humanity had returned with power beyond imagination. A single human ship had defeated an entire Zephyrian fleet without breaking a sweat. The species that the Council had dismissed as primitive warmongers now possessed technology that made them seem like gods. Emergency sessions convened on every Council world. Some species called for immediate surrender. Others demanded total war against the returned humans. Most were simply paralyzed by fear and confusion. But in the deepest reaches of space, the space-time distortions continued to grow. Reality tears spread like cancer through the galaxy. And in the void between galaxies, ancient enemies that the predecessors had once fought began to stir. Sensing the weakness in galactic defenses, Jake Morrison stood on his bridge and watched the galaxy tear itself apart through ignorance and pride. Humanity had returned to save the civilization that exiled them. Whether that civilization would accept salvation remained to be seen. The final test was coming, and it would determine not just humanity's place in the galaxy, but whether there would be a galaxy left to save. The final battle for the galaxy began not with weapons, but with words. Captain Jake Morrison stood before the emergency session of the Galactic Council, his image broadcast to every world in known space. 8 years of exile had transformed him from a simple ship captain into something far greater, but his message was simple and direct. "People of the galaxy," Jake began, his enhanced voice carrying clearly through the transmission. "Humanity returns not as your enemies, but as your guardians. The exile you imposed upon us led us to discover our true purpose. We are the inheritors of the predecessors, and we offer our protection to all who will accept it." Speaker Vexthara's 4 arms trembled with rage. "You dare appear before this council after violating your exile? You are criminals who destroyed our ships and threaten our sovereignty." "Your sovereignty is destroying the galaxy," Jake replied calmly. A holographic display appeared behind him, showing the expanding zones of space-time damage. Zephyrian experiments with predecessor technology have created reality tears that will consume the galactic core within 18 months. Your pride and ignorance are killing billions of innocent people. Admiral Kate Sullivan was already leading the main human fleet in the largest rescue operation in galactic history. Using predecessor gravity manipulation technology, enhanced human crews worked to contain the space-time distortions before they could spread further. It was dangerous work that required split-second timing and perfect coordination. Stabilization. "Field is holding on Sector 7, reported Chief Engineer Danny Ross from the flagship Retribution. "But the distortion in Sector 12 is growing faster than we can contain it." Dr. Henry Blake coordinated the scientific teams from his mobile laboratory. The Zephyrians didn't just experiment with predecessor weapons. They tried to reverse engineer the fundamental technology without understanding the safety protocols. It's like they removed all the safety systems from a nuclear reactor. The work was exhausting, even for enhanced humans. They moved planets out of danger zones, stabilized dying stars, and literally repaired tears in the fabric of spacetime itself. Other galactic species watched in amazement as humans performed feats that their greatest scientists had declared impossible. But not everyone was grateful for humanity's intervention. General Krickstar of the Zephyrian military refused to admit that his people's experiments had caused the crisis. Instead, he gathered the remaining Zephyrian fleet and allied ships for a desperate attack on Earth itself. If he couldn't defeat humanity in open space, he would strike at their home world. Long-range sensors detect a massive fleet heading toward the Sol system, Lieutenant Ben Clark reported. 200 Zephyrian ships, plus allies from the Altarian Empire and the Regellian Confederacy. Jake felt a cold anger settle in his chest. These species were willing to attack Earth rather than admit their mistakes. They preferred to destroy humanity than accept help from people they considered inferior. Dr. Nina Grant's archaeological work proved crucial as the enemy fleet approached. Her research had revealed that Earth sat above the largest predecessor facility in the galaxy. The ancient base extended deep into the planet's core, its technology intertwined with Earth's magnetic field and geological structure. This explains everything. Enya announced excitedly. Earth isn't just humanity's whole world. It's the central hub of the entire predecessor network. That's why humans could interface with their technology. That's why we were able to activate systems that other species couldn't even detect. The revelation meant that Earth was far more than a simple planet. It was the heart of an ancient galactic defense network, dormant for millions of years, but still functional. And with humanity's return, that network was awakening. Commander Pete Wilson coordinated Earth's defenses from the hidden predecessor command center beneath the Himalayas. The facility was vast, stretching for hundreds of kilometers underground. Holographic displays showed the status of defensive systems across the entire galaxy. Planetary defense grid is coming online, Wilson reported. The predecessors built this place to protect the galaxy from external threats. It's designed to coordinate defenses across thousands of light years. As the enemy fleet entered the Sol system, they found Earth defended by technology beyond their comprehension. Ships that had been invisible suddenly appeared around the planet. Weapons that manipulated the fundamental forces of nature targeted the attacking vessels. And at the center of it all, Earth itself became a fortress that could defend the entire galaxy. The battle was swift and decisive. Zephyrian ships found their weapons useless against predecessor shields. Eltarian vessels discovered their navigation systems disabled by technology they couldn't understand. Rigelian warships simply stopped working as human technicians remotely, shut down their power systems. General Krickstar's flagship was captured intact, its crew taken prisoner without a single shot being fired. The general himself was brought before Jake Morrison in the predecessor command center beneath Earth. "This is impossible," Krickstar said, looking around at the ancient alien technology. "You are humans. You are inferior. You cannot possess power. Like this, we are what we choose to become," Jake replied. "The predecessors left their technology for us because they saw our potential. They knew we would face the same enemies they did, and they trusted us to succeed where they failed." Dr. Blake activated a holographic display showing the galaxy as it truly was. The space-time distortions were healing, reality tiers closing as human teams worked tirelessly to repair the damage. But more importantly, the display showed new contacts. At the galactic rim, the external threats the predecessors warned us about, Blake explained. "They're coming. Ships from the void between galaxies, drawn by the space-time distortions you created. If we hadn't stopped your experiments when we did, they would have had a clear path to the galactic core." Krickstar stared at the display in horror. Dark shapes moved in the empty space beyond the galaxy, clearly artificial and clearly hostile. "What are they?" "The Devourers," Enya said, reading from predecessor records. "An ancient enemy that consumes entire galaxies. The predecessors fought them millions of years ago and barely won. Now they sense weakness here, and they're coming to finish what they started." The revelation changed everything. Faced with an external threat that could destroy all galactic civilization, the remaining Council species had no choice but to accept humanity's protection. Emergency sessions convened on every world as the reality of the situation sank in. Speaker Vexthara stood before the reformed Galactic Council, his proud demeanor replaced by desperate humility. "Humanity," he said, the words clearly difficult. "For him to speak, we formally request your assistance in defending our galaxy against this external threat." Jake's response was broadcast to every world simultaneously. The offer was always open. "Humanity will defend this galaxy and all who live in it, but there will be changes." The new galactic order took shape quickly. Humanity established defense stations at key points around the galactic rim, each one equipped with predecessor technology capable of detecting and stopping threats from beyond. Human ships patrolled the void between galaxies, watching for signs of the approaching Devourers. Admiral Sullivan oversaw the integration of human and alien forces. Enhanced human officers took command positions in mixed fleets, their superior reflexes and tactical abilities proving invaluable in training other species to use new defensive technologies. The Centaurians are adapting well to the new weapon systems, Sullivan reported. The Andromedans are excellent at long-range surveillance. Even some Zephyrian crews are proving useful once they accept human command. But the most important change was philosophical. The old council system of rigid hierarchy and species superiority was replaced by merit-based cooperation. Humans didn't rule the galaxy through force, but through competence and wisdom gained from their exile experience. Dr. Grant established new archaeological teams that included members from every species. Together, they explored remaining predecessor sites and learned to use ancient technology safely. The knowledge gained was shared freely, ensuring that no species would repeat the mistakes that had nearly destroyed the galaxy. The predecessors left us more than just weapons and ships, Nini explained to a mixed species research team. They left us a philosophy. Power without wisdom leads to destruction. Technology without compassion creates only suffering. We must be better than those who came before. Chief Engineer Ross supervised the construction of new ships that combined human innovation with alien creativity, Centaurian precision manufacturing, Andromedan sensor technology, and even Zephyrian metallurgy were integrated with predecessor systems to create vessels unlike anything seen before. Working together, we're building things that neither humans nor aliens could create alone, Danny said proudly. This is what the predecessors wanted. Unity through diversity. The first contact with the Devourers came 6 months later. Long-range sensors detected massive ships approaching from the void, each one the size of a small moon. But instead of finding a weak and divided galaxy, they encountered a unified defense network commanded by enhanced humans and supported by every species in galactic space. Captain Morrison led the first engagement from the bridge of the new flagship, Unity. The ship was a pay,